Hey everybody, happy Front Row Friday. It's Marilyn Sherman coming to you from my home office in Las Vegas. Today's message has a little bit of a twist to it. If you've seen me speak before, you know that I talk about how to get a front row seat in life, and you don't have to settle for balcony seats. You don't have to settle for meandering around in general admission, but life is to be lived in the front row. But the best seat in the house is when you are an usher. Just like in Las Vegas, if you ever go to a show, there will always be an usher with two things. Number one, they'll have knowledge of all the seats in the house. And number two, they will have a flashlight, and they shine a light on your ticket so they can see where your seat is. And then they say, follow me. And they lead you to the most direct path to your seat. When you are living your best life, when you're feeling great about who you are and what you're doing, and you're on this path and you're feeling amazing, you can't help but illuminate the path for other people, whether you know it or not. People are watching you, whether you know it or not, and they're being inspired by you and hoping one day that they could have that same kind of energy, perhaps that you have. But here's the twist. What if you don't feel so much like an usher? What if you don't feel like you have a lot of light? What if you are feeling like you're meandering around in some kind of darkness? Well, I've a situation that happened to me recently where I know exactly what that means. So I've got 3 things that you can do to get out of the darkness. And it was a situation where I was driving in my car here in Las Vegas, and it was one of those rare gray, rainy days. And I found myself in the middle of a detour in a construction zone with all these pilings with orange lights. And the cars had to meander in different directions in different lanes that were used to going in another direction. And we had to wind ourselves through following the cones in order to get to the other side of the construction area, and then on your way on the on-ramp to a freeway. And I was a little bit panicked because this was a strange situation. I didn't know where all these construction, I didn't understand what was happening, but I didn't panic. I noticed that there was a car in front of me trying to go to the same place I was going to in terms of going under an underpass and getting on a freeway on-ramp. So all I had to do was trust that if I followed the lights of the car in front of me, I would safely get to where I wanted to go. So I didn't look at the big, huge picture of like, what is happening with all this construction? I just simply focused on the car directly in front of me. And I followed those lights. And eventually, meandering through this detour, eventually, we both got on the same on-ramp, going in the same direction. And then I felt like a huge relief, and I felt safe. And then that car went off, and I'm like, isn't that funny? They have no idea what help they were just now for me. So here are my 3 suggestions if you are ever starting to feel that you're in the dark. Number 1, you are not alone. A lot of us feel like we're in the dark sometimes. Hopefully it's temporary, but every once in a while, I've got some highs and lows in my life, and sometimes I feel like I'm just in the dark. And so recognize, number 1, that you are not alone. Number 2, just focus on the light. What does that mean for you? Well, it just means that means a lot of different things. You can focus on the light of opportunity, knowing that the light will eventually come. Focus on the light of other people, that there is a possibility, because no matter what you are going through when you are in the dark, there's somebody out there who went through the same kind of darkness and they made it to the other side. So take one step at a time and focus on the light, and focus on the light of optimism, focus on the light of hope, focus on the light of faith, but focus on the light. Keep your eyes on the light. And then number 3 is maybe do something about it. For example, find that person who you know has gone through the same kind of darkness that you've gone through, and they made it to the other side in a positive way. How did they get through it? Why not do some research on that person? Maybe they're famous and they wrote a book about it. Well, why not read their book? Or maybe they have a podcast on it and listen to that podcast. Or maybe it's someone who's not famous, but someone that you know. Why don't you reach out to them and and invite them to lunch. I'm smiling because I got a beautiful invitation to have lunch today with a new friend, and I had no idea, but they flew to Las Vegas just to have lunch with me and flew home. And I thought, wow, that's kind of fancy. But it was a beautiful lunch, and she was not in the dark in any way, but she just wanted some help with this detour in her life with a new destination. You know, there's going to be detours all the time on our path to the front row. Unexpected events, unexpected cancer diagnoses, for example, unexpected twists and turns that you couldn't possibly have imagined happening to you. So recognize you're not alone. Focus on the light, even if it's just the light of optimism, and then reach out, do something, take some sort of action to get you closer into that light. And then pretty soon you're going to be back in the front row of your life, feeling really good about who you are and what you do. And then who knows, you can then be an usher for someone else. Thank you so much for watching today. And I hope that you see the light of optimism and faith and hope. And I'll see you in the front row.